You have more experience. You connect points I don't even know to look for.
Okay, closing and different procedural elements. This is a good taste of sort of what the process and project management elements of being a lawyer is like. After, drafting, revising, and wondering if anyone actually reads, the risk factor section that you've been editing based on 20 other precedents, we arrive at the closing day, the grand finale of capital markets transactions. This is when the company finally gets its money, the investors get their securities, the bankers collect their fees, which is, after all, it's the real reason why we're here.
Just executed a huge pipe. We're going to Arba Southeast Asian Sugar Company.
It's chaotic. There's documents to be signed, wires to be sent, last minute fires to be put out, and the lawyers are the ones making sure nothing goes horribly wrong at the finish line. A few days before closing, the lawyers circulate the closing checklist, really detailed manifesto of everything that needs to be signed, filed, confirmed before the deal can actually close. Some of the main documents that are really common among all capital markets deals, you have the underwriting agreement or purchase agreement, the main contract that deals with, the main component of the deal. You have the legal opinion where, lawyers solemnly swear that the securities are legally issued, which is always a relief. In debt deals, you have an indenture. This is governed by another piece of regulation, the Trust Indenture Act, and it has key terms of the debt or the bonds. You have, often a base indenture and supplemental indentures for new series of debt, but we won't go into debt deals in much detail. You also have the comfort letter where accountants provide assurance that the financials are, a complete disaster. The contents of the letter is just, we're independent accountants and the financials are in compliance with SEC requirements. They reviewed the interim and unaudited financials and give a sort of negative assurance about them. They list the changes after the latest financials in the registration statement and they comment on the circle of numbers. They also give the cutoff date for the last date of review.
Then my suggestion is don't. Regulations are too unpredictable and are hampering the industry.
Everything that they cover is the registration statement along with filings incorporated by reference. Anything that's not comforted, you get a CFO certificate, meaning the CFO signs off on it instead of the auditors. For whatever reason, the auditors couldn't match it to the financials, match whatever numbers to the financial statements.
$200 million, which placed its paper value at $400 total. NASDAQ have already confirmed they are ready.
You have other certificates by company officers certifying that, nothing material has imploded since pricing. You also have regulatory filings because, SEC loves paperwork. And you also have third-party approvals or consents because sometimes a deal needs permission from rating agencies, stock exchanges, or other parties. And throughout this process, the documents are collected, signed, and held in escrow, meaning signatures are locked up in this fictional legal vault and released once everyone confirms that all conditions are met. Then on closing day, there's a formal closing call where lawyers from all sides and all parties dial in and they confirm that all conditions of the agreement are satisfied, the funds are in place, and that signatures can be released. Sometimes this is done by email. And all this, there's a strict schedule for it.
For just long enough to take our personnel and our capital. All of it.
Now, the timing here matters. There's a concept of T plus 1, T plus 2, and T plus X. It refers to how many business days have passed between the trading date and the final settlement. The gap between when the securities are priced and when the money actually changes hands. It used to be generally T plus 3 because once upon a time, people literally mailed paper stock certificates. Then it became T plus 2 because technology improved. And as of 2024, we're moving towards T plus 1 because, apparently lawyers don't need sleep. For IPOs, the stock starts trading on T, but the company doesn't actually get paid until T+2 or, soon T+1.
It prevents us both from operating at our full potential.
There's a brief but nerve-wracking period where the underwriters have already sold the stock, but the money hasn't been delivered. To cover the risk, the underwriting agreement have material adverse change clauses which allow the bank to back out if something terrible happens before closing. It's a clause no one ever expects to invoke, but it's just in case, company headquarters burned down the day after pricing and, the world ends.
This is an order outlining which materials I expect to be turned over immediately.
For investment-grade debt, pricing and closing can happen on the same day or the next day because institutional bond buyers tend to be ready to fund immediately. The faster the closing cycle, the less time for things to go wrong, which is why, in theory, lawyers are supposed to love T+1, but only in theory.
Okay. Fine.
Even the most carefully planned closings can go sideways in unexpected ways. Common pitfalls include key executives suddenly being unreachable for signatures. This is why we get signatures in advance, but even then, you're often chasing them down for signatures, even if you have DocuSign or digital signatures. Just crazy things can happen. Hurricanes shutting down New York, but we can, close remotely now, or find an excuse to delay the transaction. Wire transfers can get held up, which can be solved pretty straightforwardly, but there's a lot of stress involved in these mild disasters.
My investment is entirely contingent upon you making this problem disappear.
The best way to handle solving these crises is to have a backup plan before the crisis happens. So when the CFO's plane gets delayed, someone already has the power of attorney to sign on their behalf. And then with the same amount of drama as, flipping a light switch, the deal closes. The issuers get the cash via wire transfer. The investors get their securities electronically delivered through DTC, the Depository Trust Company, the plumbing system of Wall Street. And immediately after closing, regulatory filing needs to be made. The final prospective filing on Form 424B, the last official version of the prospectus, updated with final pricing details and expected to be filed, with the SEC within 2 business days. The Exchange Act registration, the Form 8A, if it's an IPO, the company also has to register its stock under the Exchange Act so that it becomes a full-fledged public company.
One man. A man so corrosive, so virulently
Otherwise, NYSE and NASDAQ won't let them trade on their exchanges. Stock exchanges, they also have their own paperwork. The issuer's lawyer usually coordinates with the exchange to confirm that the stock is legally issued and that it meets all listing conditions. Once it's done, the exchange officially lists the stock and the company gets a nice press release announcing its public debut. For companies that weren't public before, closing is just the beginning. I mentioned before, they have to do the quarterly earnings. They have to abide by the compliance of SOX and Dodd-Frank's. But there's also the constant threat of, shareholder lawsuits.
As much as I can trust anyone with my name and my money, I trust you.
And once the deal actually closes, the securities are out in the world being traded. The company has its cash, the bankers have their fees, the lawyers get paid their billable hours.
If you didn't trust me, why did you want me working for you?
Because I thought our goals were aligned, and I still think they can be.
For the capital markets lawyer, it's a strangely satisfying moment. The deals are a marathon of late nights, endless document drafts, and regulatory hurdles, and closing is the moment when everything just comes together. Of course, in the real world, as soon as one deal closes, another one begins, or maybe you're working on another one at the same time. Usually I'm on multiple deals. For the bankers, they start pitching their next transaction. Lawyers, they start reviewing their next term sheets. But at least for a brief moment, there's a small window to exhale. Maybe even leave the office before midnight.
Doing this not just for a living, not just to keep your name strong in the business, but to feel alive.